Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Tonight we're here with a new mentee, Josh Cutts. Josh, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Where are you located?
I'm in Lake Oswego, Oregon, just outside of Portland.
Okay, nice. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I am in the midst of a career transition. Um, I trained as a scientist, got a PhD in biomedical engineering, with a focus in stem cell research, and then worked for a med device company for around 3 years. And Um, I had a really good time doing it, and then I kind of just didn't see where I wanted to go next with that. And
Hmm.
then, as part of my PhD, I did some really basic like shell scripting
Hmm.
for like DNA analysis, and it just like blew my mind. And I thought programming was just so awesome. Um, so it had kind of been percolating in the back of my mind that I wanted to do programming for a while, but I just couldn't figure out how to make it work. So I quit my job in September and started an online training program for to learn programming, specifically for web development.
Okay,
So I've
December
been
is
doing
in
that.
just like 4 months ago.
September actually.
Oh, sorry, I misheard. Okay, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a few months ago.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the programming industry. Um, Yeah, that's interesting. I remember when I saw your application, I was really interested to talk with you because I have kind of an interest in, I mean, it sounds like stupid to say, but like I have an interest in science and specifically biology. Um, and like I think there are a lot of ideas from science that can be applied to programming. And I really wish that like a lot more programmers took a more scientific approach to programming. And a lot of people like kind of give lip service to science and the methodologies of science, but I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what it really even is and how it could be applied to programming. And so that's one reason why I was interested to talk with you because I feel like you probably are coming in from the very beginning with a good understanding of that stuff.
Yeah, with like science, the programming's still pretty um, challenging for me sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, I just meant the science part.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Let's see. So you said you were working on a certain app. Sorry, remind me what the app was.
Oh, actually, it's not an app. So the program I'm in has us kind of just doing Ruby at first. So I've just been trying to kind of wrap my head around the how Ruby is working for the past couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought today, open to doing something else, but I have kind of like a coding challenge problem from Advent of Code. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
It's like oh, great. Yeah, so I was doing some of it in December, but I hadn't done that much by in December, so I was kind of like hacking and slashing my way through. And I
Mm-hmm.
was meant to kind of go back. There was one day that I kind of worked out a pretty messy solution, and then for the second part of the solution, there was something that I needed to do that I just couldn't figure out. My code ran for like 6 or 7 hours, and then it would just stop. So there was like something that I needed to do that I just didn't know what to do for.
Okay.
Um, I guess I was trying to kind of like brute force it, but there's like something more clever that I'm supposed to do. So I was hoping to kind of look at that problem and get any advice. I guess one, just to have like a cleaner solution for the day one part, and then two, take a look at the day two part where the brute force, there's just really not enough time to do it the brute force way.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look. Do you want to maybe share your screen and
Yeah.
we can take a look? All right, let me make it possible for you to share your screen. Okay, you should be good.
Do, do. Might take me a second. I have a couple. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh, hey, Guillaume, no problem.
Did
Um,
that work? I'm sorry.
I
Not yet.
don't see your
Oh,
screen yet.
I'm sorry. I have not used Zoom with this new computer, so I have to enable it to share my screen.
Yeah, no problem. And we had a new joiner. I think I remember you from before, and the name it says is Jedediah, but maybe that's not you, or maybe it is you. Remind
Yes,
me.
that is me.
Okay, that is your
Nice to
name.
be
Okay.
here. Yes.
Yeah. I think I remember you from before. You're from the Philippines, but you're now living
Yes, that's
in,
correct. In Tampa.
yeah, okay.
Uh,
Well, welcome
just
back.
got the email for the meetup, so yeah, pretty
Okay.
interesting.
All right. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the text, there's always kind of like a log. They have like a story, right? For that's kind of fun to read. Um,
Okay.
so let me do my best so you don't have to kind of read through all of this. But you're given these seeds that are integers, and
Okay.
then you're given um, basically these are like they call them maps, and they're basically instructions on how to convert this initial integer. um, so you convert it from a seed to soil, and then they call it soil to fertilizer, and you kind of go through all these conversions until you get to what they call a location. And
Okay.
then at the end they want you to return the like smallest location, the minimum location from the given integer seeds. And then the way that the conversion works is, so you have these three integers, um, and the way they call let's see, it's called the des so on each line within the map, it contains three numbers: the destination range, the source range, and the range length. So this
Okay.
is the first map, the seed to soil map. So um, the destination range is 50, the source start range is 98, and it's a range length of 2, right? So that means for the source range start at 98, it goes 98, 99, and then the
Okay.
destination um, starts at 50. So a seed of 98 would go to 50, and then a seed of 99 would go to 51.
Okay.
And then kind of the same idea, right, for the second row. Now it's a range of 48, right? So it starts at 50, so it goes 50 to 97, and I think 52 to 90, 99. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
With you so far?
So then you're just kind of meant to, kind of go through each of the given seeds, and then go through each of these maps, convert it all the way through, and then at the end, pick out the smallest one and return it.
Okay. Um, I understood the examples, like the 50, 98, and 2, 52, 50, and 48. I did not understand the whole thing when I first looked
Okay.
at it, but I feel like I might
Yeah.
now that we've talked about that other thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So now,
yeah,
yeah. So like you start with like your seed here, right? And then your first conversion is seed to soil. So then after that you've converted. Oh, sorry, I forgot one thing.
Mm-hmm.
If the seed is not in these two ranges,
Mm-hmm.
then it just stays the same.
Okay. So I understand the idea that for that 58, 98, and 2 one, you would take the numbers 98 and 99 and place them in the spot 50. So tell me if I even have that right. 98 would go in the 50 spot and 99 would go in the 51 spot.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay. What I don't understand is how the seeds 79, 14, 55, and 13, I don't understand where those come into the picture.
So, okay. So you start with these. You start with these seeds, and
Okay.
then so say I think it actually it takes us through the 79. Okay, yeah. So 79, right? It tells us that it corresponds to the soil number 81 because it doesn't, so 79 is not 98 or 99.
Mm-hmm.
So the next place you look is here, right? So then it is between 50 and 97.
Mm-hmm.
Does that part make sense? Um, so then it maps to 81 essentially, because you're essentially adding two, right? So 50 goes to 52, 51 goes to 53, blah blah blah, all the way up to 97 goes to 99. So 79, the seed 79 turns to soil, I guess you could say soil 81.
Got it. Okay. And that is because 79 falls within the range of 52 to 99.
50 to 90, because the seed falls within 50 to 97.
Okay, so you do it before the conversion, not after.
Yes. So if it's in this range, then it goes to like whatever the corresponding number is in over here, I guess.
Okay. Um, okay. It sounds like we're less than 100% sure. So maybe, even though it's kind of tedious, can we like just go
Sure.
through all the instructions?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna read this out loud. We have another joiner. Oh, multiple more joiners. Um, okay. You take the boat. Sorry, can you scroll up just slightly? Okay, that's just adding. You take the boat and find the gardener right where you were told he would be, managing a giant garden that looks more to you like a farm. Okay, I'm guessing this boat and gardener were referenced in some previous
In the
stories.
earlier.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Okay. Um, a water source. Island is the water source. You point out that Snow Island isn't receiving any water. Oh, we had to stop the water because we ran out of sand to filter it with. Can't make snow with dirty water. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll get more sand soon. We only turned off the water a few days, weeks. Oh no, his face sinks into a look of horrified realization. I've been so busy making sure everyone has food that I completely forgot to check why we stopped getting more sand. There's a ferry leaving soon that is headed over in that direction. It's much faster than your boat. Could you please go check it out? You barely have time to agree to this request when he brings up another. While you wait for the ferry, maybe you can help us with our food production problem. The latest Island Almanac just arrived and we're having trouble making sense of it. The almanac, your puzzle input, lists all of the seeds that need to be planted. It also lists what type of soil to use with each kind of seed, what type of fertilizer to use with each kind of soil, what type of water to use with each kind of fertilizer, and so on. Every type of seed, soil, fertilizer, and so on is identified with a number, but numbers are reused by each category. That is, soil 123 and fertilizer 123 aren't necessarily related to each other. Okay, and can you scroll down to the examples? Okay. The almanac starts by listing which seeds need to be planted. Seeds, blah, blah, blah. The rest of the almanac contains a list of maps which describe how to convert numbers from a source category into numbers in a destination category. Okay, that is the section that starts with seed to soil map describes how to convert a seed number to a soil number, seed number, the source, to the soil number, the destination. This lets the gardener and his team know which soil to use with which seeds, which water to use with which fertilizer, and so on, rather than list every source number and its corresponding destination number one by one. The maps describe entire ranges of numbers that can be converted. Each line within a map contains three numbers: the destination range start, the source range start, and the range length. Okay, Consider again the example seed to soil map, blah, blah, blah. The first line has a destination range start of 50, a source range start of 98, and a range length of 2. This line means that the source range starts at 98 and contains two values, 98 and 99. The destination range is the same length, but it starts at 50, so its two values are 50 and 51. With this information, you know that the seed number 98 corresponds to soil number 50, and that seed number 99 corresponds to soil number 51. The second line, I'm going to skip that paragraph because we kind of already talked about that stuff.
Yeah.
Any source numbers that aren't mapped correspond to the same destination number. So seed number 10 corresponds to soil number 10. Interesting. So the entire list of seed numbers and their corresponding soil numbers looks like this. Entire list of, oh, okay. I see. Okay. With this map, you can look up the soil number required for each initial seed number. The gardener and his team want to get started as soon as possible, so they'd like to know the closest location that needs a seed. Using these maps, find the lowest location number that corresponds to any of the initial seeds. Okay, why is the lowest location number? Why does that mean it's the closest location?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I guess that's just kind of the way they set it up.
Okay, I guess that we just have to assume we're at, 0 or something like that, and
Oh yeah,
the
so I guess
locations
something like
are
that. Yeah.
numbered by how far away they are.
How far it is from you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious how much more of the stuff there is. Can you scroll down past this?
That's it for the first half of the puzzle.
Okay. Um, your puzzle answer was blah blah blah. What does that mean? Where does that come from?
I solved the first part.
Mhm.
So the input, so that they start with, kind of a 3 or 4 seeds that are kind of reasonable numbers, and then the
Mhm.
input is like quite unreasonable, like, very large
Wow.
numbers.
Okay.
Um, so then I wrote I wrote some code to do it. And I got it to work. It's a little messy. I would love to kind of look at it with you. Um,
Yeah.
I know there's a better way to do it, but I had a hard time figuring out how to do it better.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look.
Um, Maybe I should make it a little bigger. Is that big enough?
A little bigger would be good. Yeah, a bit bigger. Maybe like one or two more notches bigger. There we go. That's good, I think.
Okay. Okay, so I tried to kind of write out some like text to solve. Um, the first thing to do that I did was kind of just getting the input um, into code, and then doing some manipulation to kind of get things to look. I started out with kind of this input over here, so has like
Mhm.
colons and things like that and spaces. So the first step was really just trying to clean that up and
Mhm.
get the seeds in one array, and then get the maps in their own array, and then each of the rows were arrays in those arrays. So each map is its own array, and then each of those kind of rows of destination, source, and range is another array.
Okay.
And then it's a little embarrassing, but I wanted to try to learn how to do it better. So what
Yeah.
I did was I know this is kind of not best practice because it is quite a large bit of code, but basically iterating through, like, I have soil here, and so I just iterated through each seed, and then I had the destination, the start range, the source start range, and the range length. So then just looking to see if the seed is between the source range and the source range plus the range, -1, because you have to count the one you start on.
Okay.
And then I didn't know a better way to kind of deal with this, but basically, if the destination range start is less than the source range start,
Mhm.
then you take the difference. So the new number is just the seed minus that. And
Okay.
then if it's the other way around, then you have to add
Okay.
the um and
Okay.
then
Mhm.
if so then the final thing is this not in range array that I'm adding false to.
Got
That
it.
basically is just to account for if it's not in the range, then at the
Okay.
end I just check to see if it wasn't in the range, in any of the ranges that were given,
Okay.
then we know that it wasn't found. So we just have to add that seed.
Okay. Um, this has nothing to do with the quality of the code that you've written or anything like that, but would you be open to starting completely over from scratch?
Sure. Very much so. Very much.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay. Yeah, let's start over, and if you're open to it, let's try a test-driven approach.
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and how about let's make an entire new folder, because it'll
Oh,
be,
great.
yeah,
Sure,
it'll be
sure.
multiple files.
I'll just call it inventory. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So let's write our first test. Um, and I like to think of tests as executable specifications. And so we can kind of take the specifications from the advent of code description and convert those into tests. Let's go back to those instructions. And if you can scroll to like the top of the examples. Yeah. So I'm thinking about each one of these like groups of three numbers. I guess each one of those, well, okay, is each line a map or is each group of lines a map?
Each, I guess it kind of depends on the terminology, the way you think about it. I was thinking each of these is a map, like each of these six is its own map, and then
Mhm.
each of these is just a non-overlapping set of like ranges.
Yeah. So what do we call each of those groups of 3 numbers. We could call it a range set, although that, like, I don't know. I don't like that because it's like, what the heck is a range set? It's so vague.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's the 3 numbers are the destination, the range start, and the range end. Hmm. I don't know. We could, if we wanted to, we could decide to think of each line as a mapping. How does
Okay.
that
A
idea strike
mapping.
you?
I like that. Mapping as part each there's many mappings to a map. I like that.
Okay. Okay. So why don't let's maybe focus on a mapping first, and like we can focus on parsing a mapping into its 3 separate parts. So how about let's create a new file called mappingspec.rb. Okay. Um, and then we can say, would you happen to have ever written an RSpec test before?
I have not. I just learned. I've been learning mini tests recently, but I'm not familiar yet with RSpec.
Okay, that's okay. Let's type the word describe and then space, and then we'll conceive of a fictional Ruby class called mapping. So let's type, yeah, there you go. Describe mapping do, and then let's put an end on the next line. All right. And let's actually run this file on the terminal. Let's do rspec mapping spec.rb. Yeah, and it of course does not work because okay, it says uninitialized constant mapping. That's actually not the error that I expected, but that's okay. Um, okay, so it says it doesn't know anything about a class called mapping, which is not surprising since we don't have a class called mapping. So how about let's make a new file called mapping.rb and just define a class called mapping. But let's yeah, there you go. Yeah, and can you do me a favor, Josh, and just close any of the tabs that aren't mappings
Oh,
mapping?
yeah.
There we go. Okay, yeah, now let's well, I guess we need to require this file from our spec. So let's add a line to the top that says require relative mapping. Okay, now let's see what happens when we run the test. Okay. Um, that might be because, oh wait, sorry. You are running Ruby mapping spec. Let's do RSpec mapping spec.
Oh, the file name. Oh,
Yeah.
RSpec. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Uh,
Okay.
ah,
That's what I would expect.
right.
Not surprising because we haven't installed RSpec. So let's add a gem file to our project.
I'm not sure. I've installed gems just through the terminal, but I'm not sure how to do it just for this project.
Okay. Let's create a new file called capital G gem file.
Oh, I was just learning about this
Okay. Yeah, this is where we can keep our list of dependencies.
for bundler. Is that right?
Yeah, and do you know the reason for putting the dependencies in the gem file rather than installing them on the command line?
Um, I I think it's just because for different projects that you're working on, they could require different versions of the gems. So it's best to kind of keep all that information in a gem file. Um, so the bundler can kind of keep track of the right versions that you need to use.
Yeah, that, and let's say that I bought a brand new computer and then I checked out your I cloned your project from GitHub and I wanted to start working on it. I wouldn't have RSpec or anything on my computer. Um, and it would be like, for one, it would be tedious to manually install everything. And two, I just wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what the dependencies are. And so it's helpful to explicitly list the dependencies and then have a convenient way to install all of them.
I see.
So let's open up the gem file and we can put in it. I think the syntax is gem rspec with rspec in quotes. And I can never remember what this is, but we need another line. It goes at the top, and I think the code, I think the syntax is source and then in quotes rubygems.org. It's entirely possible that I have that wrong, but let's save that and then on the terminal do bundle install and see what happens.
Do I need to be in that directory?
Yes. Okay. Okay, we need the
Oh,
HTTPS.
all right. Let's try again. Ah,
Okay, seems to have worked. Now let's try rspec mapping spec.rb. Interesting.
hmm.
That is surprising. Try bundle exec rspec mapping spec.rb.
Oh, I think,
Yeah, just
oops.
yeah, you noticed it. Okay, so that works. 0 examples, 0 failures. Now, this would probably be a decent time for us to do a git commit. And how familiar are you at this point with Git?
Um, I read a textbook on Git and I do Git commits like when I finish a course that I take. I have
Okay.
it on a GitHub profile. So probably like once a month I do it. So not super familiar.
Okay. I'd like to get you into the habit of doing a git commit like every 30 seconds to 5 minutes.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. So let's get started with that cycle. First, let's do a git status. Oh, interesting.
Oh, I was kind of
Oh,
poking around some files to get ready for today.
okay. So I think we must be inside of a git repo in the subdirectory.
Yeah.
What if we do a,
Yeah.
git init? And then git status. Okay, great. Now let's do a git add dot, which will add everything in this directory. Then another git status. Yeah, okay. Now let's do a commit, and we can just call it initial commit or something like that.
Does that look right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. And then I usually do a get status afterward just to make sure I did what I thought I did. Okay, great. Okay, now we can turn our attention back to the test. I think you can close this gem file because we're not going to need that anytime soon. Okay, so the first thing we want the mapping to do, how about let's either conceive of an example or just copy paste an example from the examples of one of those groups of three numbers.
I guess we could just I'll just paste these over so we have them, and
Mm-hmm.
then we can use them at will.
Yeah,
Is that what you had in mind, or?
exactly. Yeah. So I don't like to think too much in the beginning of how to describe the tests, like the labels and stuff like that. I find it pretty hard to do in the beginning. I actually find it easier to come back at the end and put labels on things. So how about let's do this? Let's create an it block. So let's type it space and then in quotes we can put our description. And in the beginning we can just say it works.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I meant
Oh,
without
I
that
see.
second it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep, it works do, and then we'll put our code in the block. So how about here we just put mapping equals mapping.new and pass in a string of 50982. Okay, let's run that and see what happens.
Do I have to run bundle exec every time?
Apparently so.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, wrong number of arguments.
We haven't defined anything here.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget the names. I guess this was the destination range start and source range start and range.
Yeah, but remember, we're giving it just a single string with all three values.
Oh, right, right. So it's just oh, but it's just the map. Oh, but the class is called the mapping.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough because there's a concept of a mapping, and the string is a mapping in a sense, but it's not exactly the
Right.
same thing. We could call it like I don't know, like the source data or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we could even call it raw source data.
That's a very good idea. Because we'll have to do something to it.
Yeah, I almost always hate the name data because it's like one of the vaguest nouns in the English language. Um, and maybe even instead of raw source data, yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say like numbers might be better than raw source data, but I'm not sure. Any opinion either way?
No, for a second I was thinking of calling it just like a raw mapping in the
Oh
sense that
yeah.
we'll probably do something to fix it. Like because it is one of the what we're calling a mapping.
I think I like raw mapping better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so now if we run the test again, does it pass? Okay, great. Um, how about let's commit that? And before every commit, I do a git status and a git diff because a non-trivial proportion of the time when I do this, I find that there was something I was about to commit that I actually didn't intend to commit. I see
Looks
nothing
good.
surprising. Uh-huh. So we can do a commit that says
Oh,
something like,
git
um,
add. Not right.
oh, we don't need to because Git already knows about those files.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and if you do a Git commit with the A flag, it'll yeah, lowercase a, I believe. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was expecting that we're going to use both the A and the M flag, but this is okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So we can put a message here. What do? We got the mapping initialization working, so we could say something like get mapping initialization working.
Do I just type right here? I've made an error. I'm not sure where I am anymore.
Yeah, you can type right there. And I actually meant get in the other sense, GET.
Got it.
Um, yeah,
Wait.
for whatever reason, Git wants you to put things in the form of a command. Like instead of putting got mapping initialization working, Git mapping initialization working is like the grammatical form that that is customary in Git. Yeah,
Oh,
but not GIT, but GET.
oh, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, and just to be nitpicky because I think these details matter, um, let's make mapping capital because we're specifically talking about the class called mapping. Yeah. Okay, I think that's good. And I don't know if this is Vim or what.
I'm not sure either.
Um, but hit the escape key. Yeah, okay, now type a colon. Did anything happen when you typed a colon?
No.
Um, hmm. Okay, I think you hit Q. Hit Q again. Type colon X and see if anything happens. It's very surprising to me that when you hit colon, nothing is happening. Um,
Oh, sorry. I was semicolon. My bad.
okay. All right, now type an X and then enter. All right. That's save and quit in Vim.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't do the M flag, then it'll throw you into an editor, whatever the default one is. Apparently, in your case, the default is Vim. All right, let's do a git status to make sure we have a clean working state. Okay, great. Okay, so we're able to initialize it. Now let's add an expectation. How about after line 5, we say expect mapping dot. What's that first?
Within the block or
Yeah, sorry, inside the block. What does that first number represent again? The
uh
destination
yes, destination
destination
source
range
and then
start.
range.
Okay. Okay, so how about let's say expect mapping dot destination range start to equal 50. Okay. And just a couple syntactical things. Um, we're referring to the mapping variable as opposed to the class, so let's
Right.
make that m lowercase. And then expect is a method, and we're gonna need to call a method on the return value of expect. So let's surround that argument of mapping.destination range start with parentheses. Yeah, and then after that closing parentheses, let's put dot to, to, and then After 2, we want space EQ. And then in parentheses, the number 50. Yeah, and then we can delete everything after that. Okay. So this part of our specs syntax is one of the parts that tends to confuse people early on, but it's probably not very profitable for us to focus on that part right now. So we can kind of live with the fact that it's confusing for now, and we can come back at a later time and get clearer on that. But let's run this test and see what we get. Okay, undefined method, destination range start. Not surprising, of course, because that method, in fact, does not exist. So how about let's make it exist? And we don't have to make it do anything. We can just, we can write just enough code to make the error message go away. Okay. Okay. And it did make the error message go away. And Josh, it's okay if the answer is no, but do you know why we write just enough code to make the current failure message go away?
I do not.
It's to avoid coding speculatively. A lot of people make the mistake of just writing a bunch of code without testing it. And then you might end up with code that's not necessary. And so this is to avoid writing any code that's not necessary. Only writing enough code to make the current failure message go away ensures that every single piece of your code is needed in order to fulfill the requirements, and that every piece of code you write is covered by a test. Um, Thank you for that heart, Jedediah.
I see the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, so let's address this failure. It said expected 50 and got nil. Any ideas, Josh, on how we could make that go away?
So we kind of need to parse the raw mapping into, I guess, the destination range start, and then maybe have our destination range start instance method return that destination range start.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's do that.
So I guess what I would, if I was only doing this part, I would say something, I would maybe do something like this: raw mapping, and then split, and then it's the first element in the array.
Okay. Yeah, I say let's just do the simplest thing that could possibly work. And then, of course, inside that method, we can just return destination range start.
All right, I think that should do it. Oh,
Okay, very close. You see the difference?
oh, it's the string, right? There we go.
Okay, great. Let's commit that. Oh, but remember, first let's do a get status and a get diff.
Oh, thank you.
Ah, and already this pays off. We can see we have some extra white space.
Oh, nice. I hate when I do that with Rubocop at the end.
Yeah. All right, so let's do let's go out of this and do get diff again.
I guess we could, does it matter for the new line or?
Oh, I think that's just, it's saying that that's a difference from before. Apparently before there was a new line at the end of the file and now there's not, but doesn't
Oh,
really matter.
okay.
Okay. Well, if you're happy with all that, we can commit it.
Yes. Oops. Commit M, right? Don't do that
Yeah, I
again.
think so. I've actually never seen the two combined, but I imagine that's what it is.
Okay.
So what did we
Um,
do? We can say add destination range start.
do you usually put it in the present tense instead of the past tense?
Let's see, add destination range start. I don't know the name. I don't know the grammatical term for what that is, but that's the form that I put that in. It's like the
Okay.
customary grammatical form for get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think,
like it. I think it's weird, but I do it just in order to conform.
okay, cool. Thank you.
hmm Okay, and then get status. Okay. All right, now we can do the next one, which is, what was that middle number?
I believe it's called the source range start.
Okay. By the way, I feel like it's weird that they put the destination first.
It is weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
it made it difficult when I was solving the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so how about in our test, we um we add one for source range start, that's what it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you add
And we
it
can see the
within this
sun
it?
has made its way to the exact place where it lands on my head. This only happens at certain times of year. Um,
It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I haven't seen Indiana Jones, but
Oh shoot.
yeah, I'll take your word for it. It's like one of those Mayan
Yeah.
structures, just the right day of the year. Um, okay, yeah, let's like copy this entire thing. And actually we can, before we do that even, let's
Hmm.
modify this. Now that we've written the test, it's a little bit easier to put a meaningful description on here. Um, these describe blocks can be nested indefinitely. So how about let's wrap this it works block in a describe block, and we can say describe destination range start. No, actually, sorry. Let's not do that. I have a better idea.
Okay.
Let's say it parses destination range start. Perfect. Yeah, now let's copy that entire it block, and we can say it parses source range start. Okay, yeah. And then it's idiomatic to have a space between these it blocks. So let's do that. And you know what I mean when I say idiomatic?
Kind of just like best practice or what people expect to see.
Yeah, I think speaking idiomatically means speaking in the way that people normally speak.
I see.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's run that and see what happens. Okay, very unsurprising.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I could. I'll just keep this. I could kind of refactor that, I guess, to do all three.
I think the way you did it is good. Yeah. Okay, what does the test do now? Okay. Now we could do some refactoring.
I
We
guess,
could like, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, open to, yeah, ideas. I mean, I'm guessing we'll probably do the range, the actual, I think it's just called the range value or range length. So it could, um, hmm, what would be a good way to do that? Yeah, I don't know how I would do that actually.
We already have some duplication here.
Yeah.
Seems like the easiest piece of duplication to remove would be the raw mapping dot split. So it's
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I don't like these names, but it can be like raw, it could be like numbers equals raw mapping dot split.
Okay.
And to make it more consistent, yeah, okay. Yeah, and then these could of course change to numbers 0 and numbers 1.
Right.
Okay. And let's see if our
Eventually do.
tests,
Oh,
that would
yeah,
be
go for it.
coding speculatively, my friend.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's hard to not do that.
Yeah. Okay, everything still passes. And we could even clean it up more. Like we could change numbers to an instance variable, and then on lines 9 and 13.
Uh,
Yeah.
just hold on to that for a second. Make sure it works. All right.
Okay, wonderful.
And then commit.
Yeah. Okay, good work doing the git status and git diff before committing.
Okay, I think. Oh,
Oh,
thank you,
and you
git
know
diff.
what? Those commented lines at the end of this file, we can probably kill those at this point, right?
Oh, yes, yes. Guess one more because I fixed it. Just make sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, great.
Add source range start. Is that what we said last time?
Okay, yeah. Okay, and I do have to go soon because we're at the end of the hour, but let's do a couple more things real quick. Um,
Okay.
let's add that third number. I think that'll be pretty easy for you based on what we've already done.
Right. Mapping dot.
Well, but specifically it's the source range length. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Destination range start, source range start. Is it the source range length?
I believe they just call it the range length, but I guess
Range
it
length.
is the sort. It is the source range length. Yeah.
Okay.
Then That
Yeah,
looks
let's run that
good.
test and see what happens.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Um,
And by the way, uh, this message is not just for you, Josh. This is for the world. Um, but getting names of things right is really important. Um, like in my consulting work, a lot of times people come to me for help with testing, but then one of the biggest problems that I find in my clients' code bases is that things are named in a way that's either not faithful to reality or it just doesn't have what you might call conceptual integrity. Like the concepts don't agree with each other that nicely.
mhm.
And so it's like, yes, you need help with testing, but even before that, maybe you need help cleaning up this conceptual framework that underlies your application. And if these things are confusing, then everything is going to be confusing. So it is worth taking the time to get these things right. Okay, so it's undefined method. That's not surprising.
Right.
At this point, that'll be trivial to implement.
Range length.
Okay, wonderful.
Nice.
Let's do the good old diff and commit.
All right.
Okay, great. Okay. So this like fulfills a specification that we kind of came up with because such a fine-grained specification that it wasn't explicitly mentioned in the instructions, I don't think. It was the specification that when we're given a string of three numbers, our program splits it into these three distinct values.
Mhm.
So the question we can ask ourselves now is what specification do we want to turn our attention to next?
Mm,
Here's an idea. What if when we're given an entire mapping consisting of multiple lines, sorry, when we're
right.
given an entire map consisting of multiple lines, it gives us multiple mappings.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So each one would be its own um, mapping object, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not entirely satisfied with the name mapping. Like having a
Mm,
map and a mapping, it's like, what really is the difference between a map and a mapping? Like, I buy map, but I don't know if I buy mapping. I can see that being
yeah.
confusing. And as I
Yeah.
look at this, it's like destination range start, source range length. I have an idea in my head as to what you might call this thing that these three numbers make up, but I don't want to deprive you, Josh, of the chance to try to come up with a better name. So I
Okay.
want to pause and see if you have any thoughts first.
The thing that comes to mind at first is like it's kind of like a first. It's like each of them are their own direction almost, or like own direction or conversion or that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well,
I'm not super happy with them though.
the term that's coming to my mind is range definition.
Yeah, that I think is much better.
Okay. Okay. So how about let's take everything that's called a mapping right now and rename it to range definition. And actually, since it is 708,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
um, and I normally I would just stay, but I have something I have to do. Um, how about I'll give you that as homework if you're up for it.
Hmm.
And then maybe also as homework, the idea that you can give it a map, which is a collection of range definitions, and assert that when you give it that raw map from we don't have to worry about the file IO yet. We can separate the
Okay.
file IO from the processing. So you can just hard code a string and assert that when I give it this string of, let's say, 2 definitions, then the outcome of that is that we have an array where the first one is this certain this certain range definition, and then the second element is this other range definition.
Okay. Okay. All right. That sounds great.
Okay. And Josh, you have my scheduling link for the mentorship sessions?
Hmm.
Okay. By the way, I'm noticing a pattern with people. They'll come and do the first mentorship session and then never schedule a second one. So,
Oh no.
yeah. So I don't know if that's because people feel like they don't want to impose or something like that. Or if they're just repulsed by my personality. Could be either one of those.
That can't be true.
But yeah, you are very, very welcome to pick another session. I hope you do, because I want to have some like continuity with these things, you know?
Yes.
I want to have the
Yes,
same
me
people
too.
joining multiple times. So please feel free to grab another session. And dear viewer, a message from our sponsor, me. This kind of thing I also do for a living. And so I work with developers on testing and making their code more easy to understand and stuff like that. And I work with engineering leaders on how to help their teams improve and stuff like that. Actually, all my clients are engineering leaders, so I help them improve their teams. If you are interested in such a service, you can go to codewithjason.com and you can see my consulting services there. You can apply to be a client. Thank you, Josh, for sharing this with us. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Will
Bye,
do.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.